Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, December 21st, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in college hoops. First up, it's TCU and Utah. This one's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern on the Pac-12 network. I was really concerned with what I saw from Utah in their most recent game against BYU. It was a 9-point loss in that one. Now, I know it was a true road game and a rivalry game, and BYU's not a bad team, but they were missing a few key pieces, BYU was, in that game, and they were up by 15 points at one point, and this is a Utah team that beat Arizona. They were on a big-time win streak, and they were pretty much hyped up, to be one of the better teams in the Pac-12, but I worry about that defense. Right now it's ranked 29th in adjusted defensive efficiency, but I don't think that number is going to hold up when you look at the fact that Utah's not been able to force those turnovers. And you look at last game, sure, they forced 13 against BYU, but BYU is ranked near the bottom of the country, 314th in turnover percentage on offense. They're usually losing the ball 15, 20 times a night. So Utah only forcing 13 is actually well below BYU's average. BYU was pretty happy about that, especially because some of their ball handlers and perimeter shooters were out for that game. So Utah's defense did not show up in that one. 75 points allowed, not what you want to see. And I know this is a home game. It's more of a semi-home game for Utah in this matchup versus TCU. But, TCU, a good offensive rebounding team. They take care of the basketball. Very good defensively. They force plenty of turnovers. They're good against the perimeter. Utah's a very good three-point shooting team. But TCU's ranked 19th in the country in three-point defense. So I think they match up really well in this game. I like TCU's chances. I'm going to take the Horned Frogs in this one. I think they win this game outright. Next up, it's Michigan and North Carolina. This one's 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Two teams that usually have big expectations in college basketball, but two teams I'd say have been pretty disappointing this year, even though they both have winning records. Michigan at 7-3, North Carolina 8-4. These teams have struggled when they've stepped it up in competition. Michigan losing to Arizona State, Virginia, and Kentucky. There are only 3 top 50 KenPom teams that they faced this year. North Carolina, on the other side, they have 1 win over a solid opponent in Ohio State. That was their most recent game. But they have 4 losses to Iowa State, Alabama, Indiana, and Virginia Tech. So both teams have struggled in these big game moments, but I do think North Carolina is the better team, especially on the offensive end where you see them ranked 10th in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're taking care of the basketball. They also get to the free throw line quite a bit, something I like to see from teams. And, this is a good free throw shooting team. They're ranked 58th in the country, 75% as a team from the free throw line, but they're struggling from three-point range. They're ranked 308 in the country in three-point shooting. I don't expect that to hold up. This was a good North Carolina three-point shooting team last season where they shot 35.8% as a team. They brought back a good amount of production from last year's roster. So I do think going forward, this is going to be a Tar Heels offense you're going to watch out for, especially as we get into ACC conference play. But, it's kind of a neutral site, semi-home game here for North Carolina. I think they take care of business and cover the spread in the end. So give me North Carolina and land the points in this one. Next up, it's Arizona State taking on San Francisco. This one's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern on CBS Sports Network. I do think Arizona State is a little bit fraudulent. They're ranked 35th right now in KenPom. They're 11-1 right now on a 9-game win streak. There's no doubt that this is a good team, but are they as good as their record and as good as the hype that they're getting? I just don't think so, and I think they're a little bit overvalued in this spot against a very solid mid-major team in San Francisco, who's 9-4 this season. It's a little bit of a rebuilding year on paper because you lose your head coach who goes to the Gators and Todd Golden. You lose a good amount of your production from last year's roster, but this was a team that still replaced a good amount of that production through recruiting and transfers, and they're ranked inside the top 135 in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. The key for me is San Francisco is a very good defensive rebounding team, very important against Arizona State, and they're also a very good three-point defense, ranked 38th in the country in three-point defense. Arizona State takes a ton of three-point jumpers. They make them at a pretty good rate, but they take 25, 30-plus three-pointers a night. We saw in their last game, they took 30 three-pointers. They made 14 of them, 46.7%. San Francisco, very good three-point defense. That's important, and when you're the home team, and you play very good defensively, you're good on the defensive glass, overall your defense has been strong this season. I usually like your chances, so I'm going to take the points here with San Francisco. I think they have a shot here to win this game outright and pull off the upset. Give me the points with the Dons. Next up, it's Clemson and Georgia Tech, an ACC conference battle on ESPN2, 7:30 Eastern. Georgia Tech has really benefited from its opponents shooting poorly against them all season long. Georgia Tech's ranked 43rd in the country in effective field goal percentage defense, but against a very good shooting team in Clemson, especially from the perimeter, I just don't think it's going to hold up. I don't really love this Georgia Tech defense, and Clemson's ranked 12th in the nation in three-point shooting as a team, 40.2%, 29th in the nation in effective field goal percentage, and they don't turn the ball over much at all. So I can expect a lot of good opportunities, good looks from Clemson on offense in this game. And even though the Clemson defense is nothing to write home about, I like the fact that Clemson is a very good defensive rebounding team, unlike Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's ranked 330th in the country in defensive rebounding percentage. They also don't force many turnovers. They take quite a few fouls on defense. So I think this is a good spot to fade Georgia Tech. They're coming off a win over Alabama State. That was a blowout win, 36 points. But in this game, I think Clemson's going to have a good shooting performance and take care of business in a road conference game. Pretty important game in the ACC. So give me Clemson here. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, the final game we're going to talk about for Wednesday's card in college basketball. It's between George Mason and Old Dominion. Both teams the same record, 7-4 this season. This game's going to be 4 o'clock Eastern, ESPN+. One of the big keys for me is Old Dominion perfect 6-0 at home, while George Mason has only played one true road game, and they lost that game. It was at Auburn. It was their first game of the season, so you can cut them some slack there against a very good Auburn team. It was an 18-point loss, but still, this George Mason team has not really been tested much away from home. They do turn the ball over quite a bit, which plays pretty well into Old Dominion's hand on defense. Team that takes care of the basketball and forces those turnovers on the defensive side. Also a very good rebounding team, both on the offensive and defensive glass, is Old Dominion, and they're on a 3-game win streak. They're playing really good basketball. They're in good form overall. I think they have the better defense in this matchup in particular. Both offenses have kind of been hit or miss this season. Both teams red hot. Like I said, Old Dominion's on that 3-game win streak, but George Mason on a 5-game win streak. The only thing is, only one of those games was away from home. It was a neutral site game against Tulane. Both teams have some solid wins on their resume this year. You look at Old Dominion, they have that win over Furman at a neutral site, 82-77. You look at George Mason, they beat Hofstra, Toledo, Tulane, some solid teams in that mix. But in this particular matchup, I think Old Dominion's defense is the key. Playing at home where they've been perfect this season, 6-0. I'm going to take the Monarchs, lay the points to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.